Hey everyone, alrighty, so back for another part with this resin bowl and our coasters that we turned into cute little bowls. So I'm going to be doing some additional work on these, clean them up, finish up the touches. The bowl, I got a few things that I definitely want to get. So lesson learned, I won't fill that mold so full, because I got this really big lip here, which is fine. I'm going to make this work. It's all good. But my other concerns are I got some pretty good little holes going. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that we're going to do to fill those. This one actually goes all the way through, unfortunately. So I'm going to get a little bit creative on it to make sure that I get it filled in. This one here, I think also technically probably goes all the way through. And then there is one right here. These are caused by bubbles that didn't float to the top or get popped. And so, unfortunately, that's what happens. But fixable. Everything you do is fixable. Just get creative. So we're going to use a couple different resins today. I'm going to use the UV resin. I'm going to also do a little bit of medium viscosity resin to also help work all this out. So I want to go ahead and get my resin mixed, and then I will work on some things with the UV resin to get that filled in. Also going to add a cute silver border edging on these little bowls, so I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So multi-type video for sure. And I normally, there it is. I was like, I have cups. Where did they go? So I'm not going to need a ton of resin to finish this one off. So I don't want to mix a whole lot. I'm thinking probably a total. I probably really only need maybe 40 ml total to finish them off. I'm just thinking out loud. I probably should be more than enough. I get nervous though. Do I pour too little? Do I pour too much? So I might go ahead and just, this doesn't do a really good, like 50 mark. So I'll probably go ahead and just pour 30 ml of both parts and give us 60 ml. So I'm just taking a marker. I'm not really worried about color or staining my cup per se, but just to mark what lines I want them, because I'm going to just mix it all into this cup right here. You probably don't get the most accurate of your pour by doing that, but I feel confident enough since I've been doing it a while that I can make that work. Alright, so I like to pour part B. Everybody's different. You can play with it, figure out how you like to do it. Counterculture DIY Artist Resin Medium Viscosity, so it is a little bit thicker than thin, but not as thick as their regular. I like part B first because it's super fluid and runny. This cup, I'm going to pull out of the camera just so that I can get this in the light so that I can see. This cup's a little bit yellowed just with age, and I can't see how full or not full it is when I was pouring. So I over poured just a smidge. So because this is only part B in here, I can pour it back in. Now once I get to part A, if I over pour, we're going to be pouring more part B. So I'm not going to close it just yet. With Counterculture DIY resin, at least for the artist resins, these are always typically ratio 1:1. I've stated previously, I don't measure because you're not going to get an accurate. A is the hardener. It is heavier. It will sink and way more. Therefore, you will not get an even amount. And where this resin is 1:1, you definitely want to have an even amount on both. So, this we do by measurement. This little stopper is getting all kinds of icky. But we don't got a ton more of resin in here. And I realize this is my last amount of my medium. I have lots of thin, which I'm super excited. The weather is warming up here. So we're going to be doing definitely some more fun, exciting things coming up. And I can't wait. When it's warm, the craft space is warm. I like that so that I can pour cups, bigger molds. I've got some really awesome ideas going in my head. So stay tuned to some more fun tutorials. And I'm just putting my lids back on. I have some resin residue on my gloves. And I don't have a ton of paper towels in here, so that will be fun. We'll use these sparingly, but because I have that resin on there, I'm going to go ahead and put some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel and just rub that off my gloves so I'm not getting all my tools all sticky. And then I'll use that paper towel again, either for wiping my hands or for some cleanup, whatever is needed. So I am definitely making sure my edges get taken care of, wiping the edges of my stir stick. This is a plastic stir stick from Counterculture DIY. I believe they come in a pack of 5. They actually just updated their website here. By the time this video comes out, it will have been a couple weeks that the new website is out. It is so nice. If you ordered from them before or tried to order and you just got frustrated with their website, I understand completely, but I promise you, please check them out again. If you haven't checked them out, go check them out. I absolutely love their product. Plus, they're a local company in Missouri. Like, locally, I mean in the U.S. So, a mom and pop kind of business, which I like. Because I'm not mixing a ton of, like, a large amount of resin, this isn't taking as long to mix together to get it to be really clear. Also, because it is warmer in the craft space, part A was a lot looser and runnier than it normally would be and has been in my past videos. So it's making it really nice. So I'm just looking. Yes, I've got some bubbles. I know people stress over them. I'm not stressed about them. So normally I would stir for about 3 minutes, but that is when I'm doing really big, those bigger cups of mixture. But this one I'm not super concerned. It's looking good. So I am going to wipe my gloves off one more time just to make sure, and then I'm going to pull these off because I want to use this UV tape. And if I don't pull my gloves off, I'm going to be stuck to it and I'm going to be so frustrated. So I'm going to get them off. Maybe. And I'll reuse these gloves if I can get it off, is the question. Okay. Alright, so this is UV resin tape. If you've watched any of the UV resin tutorials, you've seen me use this before. And I'm going to use it on this product to start filling the holes, and then I'll finish filling them actually with regular medium viscosity resin. But first, I want to use this tool. If you don't have one, I'll link it on my notes, but definitely beneficial for cleaning up edges. And it's kind of like a peeler, like in your kitchen. Oh, gotta be careful not to scratch, but I'm going to be putting a layer. I'm going to put a coat on top of this, so I'm not super concerned that will come right out. Let me just scratch it up more so that y'all can see how it really works. But with this tool, you can clean up your edges and get some of this really sharpness off of here. It works really well on coasters, on the bottom of your coasters, if you do coasters. I typically still would do a top coat, so I'm not worried that it scratched it, because we're going to fill that in. But it's kind of like a peeler in your kitchen. So peeling carrots or potatoes, the only difference is I don't like pushing away. I don't get a good connection that way, so it's just pulling it towards you, and it twists and turns, so it takes a minute or two to just get used to it. And basically I'm just going around and trying to take off. There's a sharp little lip on here, and take that off. That way your bottom coat, or your top coat really in this case, isn't going to have to be so thick. It can just be a nice thin layer, let it level out. Take all that off. You could also use a little sander, a little Dremel, which I have. Let me just switch out to my Dremel. And that would clean up a couple of these as well. And again, if you've watched the UV resin videos, you'll have seen this be used before. Oh, yeah, that's the right one. Wasn't sure if that was I got a couple in there for different tools depending on what I'm doing. But this little Dremel tool, it's cordless. You just charge it with a USB. Before I tighten that, I gotta put that in there. And then it would just nice and gentle. This is going to create more dust. But definitely cleans that up really nice. And then this has 3 speeds, which is also nice. It's going to create that dust, so I am going to wipe that off. This is just my little napkin with, or paper towel with a little bit of alcohol ink on it. So, or not alcohol ink. I do that all the time, y'all. Rubbing alcohol. So that feels really smooth. So now when we do our coat on there, it will come out nicely. I would suggest with that dust, definitely wear your personal protective gear. Whew, that edge, that coloring blend is so pretty. And it's got a real nice shimmer. I think that was the mica powder that I thrown in there that shimmied it up. So, anywho, that was fun. Alright, so back to the tape. UV resin tape. And I'm going to cut piece here, and what I want to do is I want to cover, my AC is on and it just blew that right out of my, when I cut it. I'm going to basically put it on the inside so that when I put a layer of UV resin down, it's sealed in here and not going to make a mess inside. And I did this in layers so that I can get a better seal around each hole. This one is like right in the crease. I'm hoping it's not all the way through, but I don't want to risk it when I fill it with the regular resin. So it's going to get a dab of the other. Alright, my Fitbit's reminding me, don't forget to do your steps. Well, we're going to miss them this hour, and that's fine. Okay, so yep, it's that one, this one, and this one. So what I want to do with those is I'm going to put in a little bit of UV resin, again, Counterculture DIY, and I just want to put in just enough to fill in that gap. Woo! That came out a little too fast. Yep, it did. It did. So, I kind of wanted to mix just a smidge of color in this, but I don't know what color I would do. Rather than to do that green, but the problem is That's a dispersion color, and it takes such a tiny amount. I'm afraid we'll get too much, but we're gonna do it. I move things around again in my craft space organizing. Couldn't remember where I went. So I'm gonna open this bottle, and I'm gonna just, I'd wiped off this tool. Whoa, that's way too much. And I'm just gonna I might regret that, but too late now, folks. Too late now. I forgot. I need to fix this one. I need to re-glue it in there. The thing came out. So silly. I want like a smidge of purple to get mixed in there, and this Plum Crazy, I think, is going to be the color. Except that it was really thick. And that is not going to work. Man, that got darker, didn't it? I feel like. I feel like that got way darker. Let's see. Maybe this will work. It's kind of one of those, like, trial and error things. You just kind of go with it. There, I feel like that's a little bit better. It makes it not look like it stood out. Now the question is if we're going to get the UV resin to cure. That's a bigger problem, probably. So I have a UV light by Let's Resin, and we're going to put this on there for probably 3 minutes. It probably is going to need longer, but we'll start with 3 and then see what's needed. And I'm just trying to clean off my brushes. This is that paper towel. These are silicone brushes. I link them in, I think, every video because I'm telling you, I use them all the time. Alright, so while that is curing, we'll slide him over here so he's out of the way. Basically, I'm going to show you what I want to do for these edges. So there is a little bit of a sharp thing there, and he just cleaned up with my fingernails. I don't feel a ton of like really majorly sharp things on him, so it's good. This is a paint marker. Marks on anything. It's oil based, so it will mark on the resin. And you want to shake it really good. That way it's mixed well. And then I like to have a little piece of paper handy, like with paint markers. It helps you get the ink or the paint started and make sure, like, see that we're gonna actually have it there. And then I'm just gonna, almost like you're coloring. These are really strong though. Smells like a spray paint can. Like if you ever spray painted. But look how beautiful that is coming. Granted, you're not going to be able to get fully into the crease of the petals. I guess if you did this before you bent it, then you could. Problem is when you're bending or shaping it, you're on a limited time frame. So I don't know. I might try that sometime to do it, but I don't know if you probably have time, because this doesn't take a ton of time if you timed it right. If I did that while it was still in the curing process before it was shaped, I'd probably wear gloves, just because you wouldn't want to put fingerprints all over the resin. And that one I was able to get kind of down in. It even just means doing that. I think that's cute. Go as far as we can, basically. And just painting, markering it on. Being careful to not touch my edges that are already done, because when there's a hair, you'll find those types of things. Since this stopped, I'm not going to touch it with my finger because I don't trust it. It came out pretty solid, so I'm going to do another round just to make sure, since we're still working on this. Anyway. But it goes on really smooth. Being careful to not touch my edges that are already painted, because you'll end up getting it all over your hands. Or if you're not super cautious person or just don't want to worry about it, I'd wear gloves. I think I would, I could do it with gloves, of course, but sometimes gloves hinder my hands and feeling, so I would probably, that would bug me, but, so just be careful, and if I get a little bit on me, I'm not overly panicked by it. Probably not the best by any means, but it'd be what it is. Alright, so look at that, nice and shiny silver edging. It just finishes, it gives it a finished look. So cool. I am in love with these two little bowl dishes. I love them for like jewelry, or I have some at work that hold like my paper clips and staples, extra staples, or things of that nature. I actually have one that holds cough drops in case I need a cough drop, because I work where I'm on the phone a lot, and you never know, especially in where I live. It's always allergy season and dry throats and all that fun. So again, with this one, it's just the same concept. Since I'm still going, I'm just going to hit that one more time. It's not going to hurt it. If anything, it's going to help keep curing that UV resin before we pour the medium viscosity onto it. I do love giving these a finished look. It makes me so happy. Yeah, my puppy dogs. I haven't heard them for a few weeks because I've been, the way I've done my videos has been a little bit different of a process, and when I've done my voiceover for the videos, they have been upstairs with my husband, so they haven't yet. But today is so beautiful. The kids are entertained with their neighbor friends and outside, and I said, you know what, I'm going to sneak into the craft room before I need to get dinner rolling, and I'm going to get my video done. So, and I'm sure because it's so nice, somebody's out walking their dogs, and we all know if you have dogs or been around dogs, that's going to make them go crazy. Look at that. Looks so good. Looks so pretty. I just love that finished look. For sure. Definitely. So those will dry. I would let them dry a good 24 hours. But truthfully, they probably only need, I mean, honestly, they probably only need like 10 minutes. But I would let them dry a good 24 hours just to make sure. So then, coming back to our actual medium viscosity resin, I am going to put my gloves back on. Because when working with this resin, you don't want to end up with any resin. You don't want to end up with it in your skin. but especially the actual resin that we're working with. And it tends to be a lot messier than your other resins. So getting this looked at, and I'm just gonna look. Oh, it looks beautiful. Yes, there is a few bubbles, but not super worried. It's starting to get warm, so I definitely want to work somewhat fast to get that handled. So these, I'm debating. Oh yeah, that solidified very nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the tape because I feel like they filled in really well and don't need the tape on them. Even that one sort of filled in. I'm not really worried about that one. It's hard to see it anyway. So, oh, it did not fill in. I'll come back with UV resin and fill it in. Actually, let's just do that now. I don't want to have to come back. So I'm just going to put, I'm going to squirt it everywhere. Oh, put it on the side there. And I'm going to put it on here. And just try to clean that up just a smidge. There we go. And clean that off. Oopsie. Put those down here out of my way. And then this won't need much to cure because it's pretty clear. But we'll just hold the lid on it and then it will be pretty good. And then we'll put our layer on here. I think that I'm going to mix a small amount with a mica, chameleon mica, so that it's not like overpowering, but definitely will help those holes not look so out of place on it. Plus it's the bottom, so really nobody should be looking at the bottom, right? Right. That's what I think. Like, should be good. It's as long as 2 minutes, I swear. You never know how long an actual minute is until you're waiting for something like this, and it's like the pot of water that won't boil. That's what I feel like. Like, okay, are we done? We can be done, right? But I try not to cut it off because if I did that, I'd probably start cutting it off way too early. That would be so bad. Like, be like, oh yeah, it's been close enough to 2 minutes. It's been 30 seconds. That would be me. Okay. But I'm like, come on. I do love some of these spots. They're just really pretty. Camera doesn't even do it justice. Alrighty. It's had to have been close to 2 minutes. I kind of wonder if it goes a little longer than 2 minutes. I haven't timed it though. But I kind of wonder if it doesn't go a tad longer. It's probably because it knows people will turn it off before they need to. Okay. That's better. And it's going to automatically pull that one off. So what's funny is it didn't fully cure in here to fill that hole in. So, but I think there's enough of a layer now that if we take this little bit that's on the table and we fill in that hole from this side, then that will be good. Okay. Now 2 minutes, folks, but all for the craft to make sure it's good. Good. And then while that's going, since I'm not holding it, let's grab a small cup. This is that blue-green that I did the last time. So I figure it will be a good one to do this time. Not going to take much of it. Enough of it, but not much of it. I'll put it in there. And we'll mix it together. And then, let's see. Let's just pour whatever it takes to fill this up. I probably did pour too much resin. I'm looking at it going, probably so, but you know, it's all good. Micas, you want to make sure you mix in really well so that you don't get any weird powdery streaks, things like that. So this one's a little bit hard to tell that if it's mixed or not, just because it's so clear per se. It's not really clear, but and it's shimmering. But I'm just making sure that I really push on the bottom of my cup where that powder was and mix it quite a bit so that it's all mixed in. That's looking really good. I think that would give those holes just a little bit of colorant on them. And then let that finish curing up and we will get this one rolling. So we're able to finish our little trinket bowls, and then this will cure up and hopefully look really good too. Okay, so it's not going to take a ton to fill our holes, so I'm just taking a little bit on my stir stick, and honestly that's what I'm going to use to, that one's going to be a little bit too full, but I am going to add some regular resin too, so, or plain resin. So and because we have these all over, it's gonna kind of blend in, like make it look like I intended to do those drops on there, basically. And I'm gonna just kind of bring this around, so again it just makes it look like that was a natural intention. I'm going to take my finger and I put some resin on it, and I'm just going to go around the edge here. That way I can make sure it's like smooth. Ooh, that glitter is really, that shimmer is really pretty. Making sure I don't have any on this hand as I'm using it to turn it. Not letting any drip down the sides because we don't want a crazy weird bubble. Oops, and I say that and I got too excited. Dripped it down the side. There we go. Oh, this is so pretty. This is making such a mess. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's okay. We're gonna persevere. Let me make sure that I got that from the side. Yeah, it looks good. Oh, this bowl is gorgeous, y'all. Gorgeous. I don't know if you can tell in the video as much, but in real life, in IRL, as teenagers would say, not a teenager, but I have teen in the household, so she'd be like, Mom, it's in real IRL. Okay. I think I smeared it into some resin that was on my mat. So that is fun. And I'm just going around, just making sure that I don't have drippies. And I'm using a finger that is not in the resin, so. And then I'm going to just grab a paper towel A little bit of rubbing alcohol. Oops, drip, drip. Get that off my fingers so that I can now actually do this top part. Alright, and we are going to clean up the mess that I created. And I'm going to wipe the bottom drips, hoping that I clean up whichever one or ones that I got resin on. Oh, it just looks so pretty. Looks so pretty. So this part, I don't want to put a ton because I just want it to go to this edge and basically level itself back out to the center and fill in. And basically I'm just choosing where I put these globs so that the resin can connect. I'm letting the mica resin mix with the clear, and you'll be able to see it move and fill in. Probably on camera is not going to show so well, especially because this resin is so clear. Oops, I went over a little bit here. I think we'll be okay. I'm trying to not go over that lip if I can avoid it, because I don't want to fill up so much that then it hits this lip and then runs over our edge completely and messes with our piece. But just giving to our edges, kind of the doming process is what we would call it. And it looks like I probably ran over here a little bit, which truthfully I'm okay. It probably will fill in this gap a smidge, which is nice to make this not look, to make this part look more intended opposed to an accident, opposed to an oopsie. So now I'm just kind of making sure the resin fills that in. There was a little gap there. There's a little gap here. I didn't pour too much extra resin, which is cool. Alright, got a couple bubbles happening. That's okay. We are going to hit this with a fast heat gun. But I have lost my heat gun. Temporarily. It's been found. Always turn it on away from the piece, so if there's any dust, it doesn't get on the piece. And honestly, that little bit just popped those bubbles. Those see? So that's awesome. I don't want to put too much heat. Two reasons. Don't want to burn it. Second reason is you do not want to get that resin moving too much, because as it begins to move or get too hot, it's going to become runny and it's going to start to overflow. And we don't want that. The other thing I'm going to do to just counteract a few of our little micro bubbles, this is some more rubbing alcohol just in a little spray bottle. You don't want a ton, but I'm going to just spritz around the edge and let it hit the center there. That's going to pop any as well. Adding that mica into this was a super brilliant idea. It makes it look like the piece is truly finished, and it's hiding a lot of imperfections. Yes, it's like gooped there as a bubble, but I think it kind of gives it character. Same thing with these bubbles. Now they don't look so out of place, which is cool. So just gonna make sure we're not running down the sides, which we are right here. So I'm going to get as much of that off as I can. Bump the camera with my head. And basically I went ahead and brought that all the way up so that it would not keep going. And we'll check it here in a few minutes. I'm going to move these out of our way, just because I don't want them to get covered. So then I've got, this is just going to be a random pour. It's It's what I use for extra resin. I always get a mold that I will start on. You could do any sort of just mold that you want to play with and see what it comes out as and fill it till it gets full with your extra resin. So I will use that. I am also going to use an alcohol ink for this portion. So let me grab that alcohol ink. I moved them to where they're closer to me. This kind of has a purpley theme going. So I'm going to stay somewhat within that, but also giving a little color. So I'm going to go with a medium magenta Breese alcohol ink. Not going to do a ton because you do not want to have it thin your resin too much. I'm going to say 4 drops. We'll see what that looks like. That's probably going to be enough. Oh yeah. See? Look how pretty that is. So, not anything too crazy. I'm not going to fully mix it. That way if I get some swirls, I'm fine with that. And I am going to put about half of our glitter one mica in of what I have. And then I'm going to put the other, all of this, and then I'll put the rest. And that's just to kind of mix it up a little. Make this pretty. And this won't get unmolded though until it's full. So this will be with us for several of the series. So if you want to catch results of it, I suppose you will have to watch other series. And I'll post, once it comes out too, it's going to be in at least probably 1 or 2 more series, depending on how much medium viscosity I'm doing, or even thin. I think I could mix it, it'd be fine. As long as it's not, as long as the previous layer's cured, I think would be fine. I wouldn't put, if I were going to mix thin right now, I wouldn't put thin in here while this is still curing. I would let the medium fully cure. So if I did mix thin and had extra, then at that point I would start a new dump mold, basically. I'm going to call it my dump mold. So it's just dumping my extra resin, not letting it go to waste, and seeing what beautiful creation we will come up with. Because you just never know. This is getting thicker for sure. A little bit harder to get all of it out. It's probably because it is warm in my craft space, you have less working time with resin, and because it's reacting. And then this is a really small cup, and we added an additant like the mica powder, and that is going to make it also start reacting and curing. So with this one, what I'm going to do is I am going to do a couple, just drop it to my workspace, help bring any bubbles up, hopefully. Do a little spritz in it. And I will probably just try to do a little bit, trying just to get the heat down in there. But again, I don't want to put too much because I don't want to burn my mold. There are some bubbles, I can see them on the side, and I see them getting popped as I do this. So I'm just, like I said, not putting too much heat into it. You don't want to melt your mold or burn it, but to get those bubbles popped. So yeah, so there's that. Now I am going to show you my quick version of cleaning up. And forgive me as I lean in front of you again. I was making sure that side looks good. And it does. So put those away. I will put a clear tote over them. That just, you could put a non-clear tote even, but that will prevent anybody messing with them and dust particles falling on them. Did make the mistake once, and my cat came into the craft space. I didn't shut the door, and I didn't have my stuff covered, and he got all into it, and it was a lovely, not so fun mess. Don't criticize me. Everybody's had those moments. We're human. So I'm sure some people are gonna be like, oh my goodness, your cat. Like, he's fine. He's still alive. This was a couple of years ago. We're fine. All right. So this had some alcohol, rubbing alcohol on it. So I just used it to help clean, like, the basic. It's not fully clean, but it got most of the job done. Got the initial resin off. Wiped my tool as well. Add a little more rubbing alcohol in. I will be careful to not bump my pieces since they are in video. I would normally, if I wasn't recording this, I would do this away from my stuff so that I wouldn't have a mishap. But I'm going to try to not have a mishap on camera. So wiping that out. Alcohol ink did stain the cup a little. This cup is already yellowed, so not overly concerned. And I'm just going to wipe as much as I can. Now this tool didn't get a wipe off, so it's still fully covered in resin. So I'm going to use this one to wipe it off. And then I'll come back with a brand new clean one to clean it up. There's some resin on my mat. You could let the resin on the mat cure. It will cure up and then peel off because I have a silicone mat from Counterculture DIY. This is their large version. They have a cute new large version too out. This is the original large. Again, this hadn't gotten cleaned yet, so using my used one that fully cleaned that to get the initial resin so that it's easier the next go around. This go around, I'm going to just pour some on my paper towel, wipe off the tool. It's fully now clean, can get put aside. This tool did get an initial wipe off, but I will go ahead while it's pretty clean. This one still's got resin residue in it and on the outside of it because of my gloves. So I just take that as well, rub it all on the inside, through the creases, along the outside, and then that one's done. Lastly, I will wipe off my gloves because if they aren't too bad, I will use these for the next round or the next stage. There was a piece of dust. I was trying to avoid it landing in there. So that is how I do my cleanup. Those look really good. I don't see any more crazy drips going down the sides. No alligator tears. Watch one of my earlier series and you'll learn about alligator tears. My redneck version. And yeah, looks great. So let that cure. I will let it cure at least 12 hours before I would move it. And then, oh, that sat in some resin. And then this one will be the same. It's going to actually get longer because until I pour another layer in there, that's going to have to cure before the next layer goes in. And then once they are done, once that one's done, it will be ready and complete, which is exciting. Then you could use your drip bowl. And then the Trinket dishes are done. Of course, that one will be in a few videos upcoming as I go through the process. So hope you guys are enjoying these little series and learning lots from my mishaps and my way of doing things. And I will see y'all again soon. I will reveal this in the start of the next video, most likely, or I might just do a short clip to reveal it. But really, you guys have seen most of it, so it's nothing too exciting other than to just see the final cure and see that everything, if I have a mishap, then I'll show you guys how I fix it. So hope everybody's well. Have a great night, and we'll see you again soon. Hey everyone, I am going to add this video to the end of this week's video, so I am popping back in to show you guys the results of this beautiful drip bowl. So if you recall, we domed up the top here, smoothed out our edges, filled in some bubble holes. So definitely looks like that. Bubble hole looks, probably wouldn't even know it was there. Know that that was an issue before, so it looks really good. The only thing I had is I had a couple little drips pop over, and basically where this is I scraped it off. I was able to get it off while it was still relatively fresh, but did cause some damage to the top of the resin. So the way I am going to fix that is I'm going to add a little bit of right through it. This is an oil-based paint marker, and it is silver. And so I'm going to silver rim this and hide that imperfection, basically. So, and obviously this is the first time I'm doing one of these types of bowls, so we're just going to kind of roll with how this happens, since I've never rimmed one. And I can tell you right now, this isn't going to be like something you want to do super fast. You don't want to overthink it, but you also don't want to go so fast that you end up coloring a spot that you don't want to. This type of marker doesn't have a lot of forgiveness. Yes, you can get some forgiveness, but it's not a ton. Oh, it makes this bowl really stand out and pop. So there's like bigger spots here, so I'm going to fill that all the way in. Make it look as smooth as possible. Okay, sorry, I had to pause really quick. Handle a child thing, but it's all good. Alright, so like I said, on these big parts, I am definitely filling them in. But I am going ahead and making sure my edges are pretty smooth. This will be a little bit tricky because this is not a smooth spot. But I'm gonna see if this works. I don't know if I can get paint down in there and hide that. I might have to go a different route for that patch. But I do like the silver. I'm just going to have to think for a moment on how I'm going to get creative. Because if y'all remember, my mantra is every mistake is fixable. You just got to get a tad creative in how we handle. So, and that's where I said you gotta be careful to not go over, because you get very limited time on fixing this. And I was able to, with just a little elbow grease, get it off where I bumped it and went down. And so I'm just following the edge as best as I can. If I do something kind of funky around a curve, I want to just kind of clean up my line, try to make it as straight as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect. Though I know as artists, we are our own worst critics. Like that little patch is a little bit bothering me. I don't even know if that's noticeable in the video. But I'm like, I notice it. Oh, dang it. Okay, I got that one a lot better. There we go. FYI, these pins, these oil-based pins, because they mark on anything, they're really strong. So definitely have some ventilation. Wear protective gear if you feel that is best for your situation. It is very, very strong. Smells like a spray paint can. That's what it reminds me of anyway. Okay, almost there, and like that helped with that little bubble hole right there. It kind of hides it. So that works great. It's just where this is all scuffed up here and really bad that it is not hiding my awful spot here. So even that out. Yeah, let's look good. It looks good. Alrighty, so thought on it just while I was doing that, and we're gonna try some UV resin. We're gonna try to clean this little scuff up and area, and then we'll repaint it. And we'll see if that will work. We're gonna try. So, silicone brush, counterculture DIY, UV resin. Gonna just try to fill in this little hole here. I'm gonna also just go over this area, try to smoothen it out a little so that hopefully when we paint on the paint, it's just a little smoother and not so rough looking. I'm gonna get my light on that pretty fast so that that resin doesn't shift a ton, because I want it to stay pretty much where I put it. And then we'll let that cure up. This is my resin light. This is the top half, or it could be the bottom half. It honestly doesn't matter which way is which, but because they both are the same. But this is the one that I have the cord into, so this is the one that will light up. All right, and that's on top. You do that one on top so that you have control of the button. I learned the hard way. The first time I was like, this is not working. I had it plugged into the bottom part. Well, the bottom one has a button as well, and if you don't have it plugged in the top, you don't have control of the button. So yeah, little fun thing. Also, I see where I have a line, a couple lines that I want to fix. So as soon as this is done, I will do that too. I was going to do it one-handed, which would not be wise anyways. It's probably good I can't get the cap off one-handed, because that would have probably made a bigger issue for myself. I have been known to do that in my brush. Like, don't rush it. It's fine. It's all good. Okay. Get this cleaned up and be able to paint over it. It's probably pretty cured, because honestly it shouldn't have taken that long for this area, and I know that's going to turn off pretty quickly. So I see a couple little areas that I just want to clean up my drawing, I guess you could say, on here. Again, you don't want to go too crazy, because if you go too crazy, you'll just get obsessive and it's just going to drive you nuts. So that looks actually quite a bit better, truthfully. I think that looks really good. It kind of, the roughness a little bit adds just to the look, so I think it's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to get too crazy I just slightly clean up some of these. Okay. That's where I had another one drip come down. Just, whoopsie. And I pulled the drip off, but it stuck to that still. So it's making that little patch a little rough, but that's okay. Problem is you start cleaning up one line, then you start to see all the other lines that maybe need cleaned up, and then you add to that line to try to fix it, and then you go down farther, and then you have to like mesh that in. So I think that I'm going to stop while I feel pretty much ahead. And that is our drip bowl that we did. It picked up a few droplets. These are just off of my mat that I haven't cleaned, so I'm not worried about those. They're gonna brush right off. They're not sticking to it. It's just that it's sticking. So yeah. So I would let that oil marker dry. I mean, it's already fine to touch. It will start to leave a fingerprint if you do it too soon, which I left a little fingerprint there, so I'm just gonna go over it. But honestly, I would just let it dry at least 12 to 24 hours, and it's probably pretty good. It will be fine to fully touch probably in the next 30 minutes. So there is the resin drip bowl. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next week. Thanks.